n-n-n-n-nephew!
Pecos Pest was in many ways the last of the classic Tom and Jerry era. It would be the final Tom and Jerry cartoon to be produced by Fred Quimby, who would retire from MGM Studios after the production of the following MGM cartoon, Good Will to Men, released a month after Pecos Pest. Fred Quimby had produced 95 theatrical Tom and Jerry cartoons, directed by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera. Together, the trio won 7 Academy Awards over a 14-year period, and Hanna and Barbera would take over the producer role from the next episode onward. Pecos Pest was also the last Tom and Jerry short to be animated by Ray Patterson, as he would leave the studio in 1953 for Walter Lantz Productions. Patterson had previously worked for a short time at Walt Disney Studio, where he animated on Fantasia and Dumbo, before leaving the studio in 1941 and joining the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Cartoon Studio in 1943, where he worked occasionally for Tex Avery's unit, but is best known for his work on Tom and Jerry, beginning with the Tom and Jerry short Baby Puss. Patterson would go on to work on 66 Tom and Jerry cartoons in total, including 4 of the 7 Academy Award-winning cartoons mentioned earlier. Patterson usually animated the few scenes with dialogue involved and became known for drawing characters with extra detail and much expressiveness. Furthermore, Pecos Pest would be the last classic Tom and Jerry short to be produced in the Academy format, or Academy ratio, before MGM started releasing Tom and Jerry cartoons in CinemaScope, or a flat widescreen ratio. Produced in 1953 and released on November 12, 1955, Pecos Pest centers around Jerry's Uncle Pecos coming to the city with his guitar for his television singing debut, and staying at his nephew's home in the meantime. Uncle Pecos is visiting from Texas, and his name derives from the Pecos River region of the American Southwest, which itself is associated with the folklore of the legendary fictional cowboy Pecos Bill. Uncle Pecos himself is similar in appearance to Jerry's nephew Nibbles, later named Tuffy, depicted with grey fur and shown to be slightly shorter than Jerry. Pecos also has a red nose, a big white moustache, and dons blue cowboy boots, a red scarf, and a 10-gallon hat which covers his eyes. Uncle Pecos speaks with a heavy Texan accent, but also suffers from a severe stammer, particularly struggling with hard consonants and syllables, and his stuttering constantly interrupts his singing. The cartoon opens with Jerry receiving a telegram from his uncle, letting him know that he will be staying at Jerry's home for the night. Upon arrival at Jerry's home, Uncle Pecos immediately starts rehearsing his signature song, Crambone. A rendition of Froggy Went, a-Courtin, a popular folk song with a long history and whose origins can be traced as far back as the 16th century. With over 170 collected verses, the song had been popularized in America during the folk revival in the 1940s, the most well-known version at that point being Tex Ritter's Froggy Went, a-Courtin, released in 1948 on Capitol Records. In addition, the opening background song that plays while Jerry reads the telegram from Uncle Pecos is a variation of the classic cowboy song, The Old Chisholm Trail, a version of which had also been recorded by Tex Ritter. Crambone closely resembles Tex Ritter's rendition of the song, with the lyrics altered slightly, and Uncle Pecos stutters and stammers his way through the song. Another problem for Pecos is that his guitar strings keep snapping.
You got a guitar string on you, nephew? I see one.
And he decides to resolve the issue by replacing his broken guitar string with one of Tom's whiskers, which he painfully yanks out of Tom's face. This becomes a running gag throughout the cartoon. Each time Pecos's guitar string breaks, he replaces it with another of Tom's whiskers. Tom begins the cartoon with 6 whiskers and ends with none. At first, Tom is annoyed by this, but soon becomes terrified as he realizes Uncle Pecos is relentless and unstoppable in his pursuit of fame and fortune, which requires a fully strung guitar. Uncle Pecos eventually leaves and appears on television the next night, watched at home by Tom and Jerry. During his live performance of Crambone, the inevitable happens. His guitar string snaps. Tom finds this hilarious until Uncle Pecos reaches through the television screen and pulls out Tom's last remaining whisker to restring his guitar and finish the song. Pecos Pest is unusual in that it depicts Tom not as an antagonist but as a victim, quietly minding his own business until Uncle Pecos arrives to terrorize him, demanding Tom's whiskers until he flees before being browbeaten into submission, and Jerry does what he can to protect Tom from this newly arrived threat. It's also unusual to see Tom and Jerry sitting together at the end of the cartoon watching TV. It's hard to imagine such a domestic scene in the earlier, more antagonistic Tom and Jerry cartoons. The gag at the end is less of Hanna-Barbera's usual slapstick, but more reminiscent of Tex Avery's surreal humor. And Tom's high-pitched laughter in that scene would be reused in many episodes of the 2014 reboot, The Tom and Jerry Show. The character of Uncle Pecos was voiced by American actor, comedian, and musician Shug Fisher. During a 50-year career in entertainment, Fisher performed in films like Mr. Roberts, but usually appeared in Western films, often as a member of the Sons of the Pioneers musical group. And later in his career, Fisher appeared in supporting roles on a variety of television series, like Gunsmoke and the Beverly Hillbillies. A comedic trademark of Fisher's included his ability to stutter at will.
If you wasn't a bit bigger than I am, I'd bust you one into the n-n-n-n where I'd fill your face full of uppercuts.
Shug Fisher had never done voice acting before, and not only voiced Uncle Pecos, but also provided his singing voice and performed the music Uncle Pecos plays, the authentic country-style guitaring and musical improvisations.
Here's what I play for my encore.
It's a great shame that Shug Fisher's role in the cartoon is uncredited. With his spontaneous stammering, his distinctive Texan accent, and his warm devotion to his music, Uncle Pecos was one of the most memorable guest appearances during the classic era of Tom and Jerry. Shug Fisher not only voicing the iconic character, but performing the catchy tunes himself makes his contributions one of the greatest cartoon voice performances during the golden age of American animation. And it's one of the reasons why I'm making this video, to pay tribute to Shug Fisher and his uncredited but hilarious and unforgettable role as Jerry's yodeling, guitar-picking, whisker-plucking, old-school Texan cowboy, Uncle Pecos. After 51 years, Uncle Pecos would return in the 9th episode of the 2006 reboot series Tom and Jerry Tales, titled Cry Uncle, which featured Uncle Pecos paying his nephew another visit. By this point, it seems that Uncle Pecos has made it as a musician and television star as he arrives at Jerry's home in a limo and explains that his wife, Aunt Spinner, has thrown him out and he needs a place to stay. He quickly returns to his old tricks, breaking his guitar strings and using Tom's whiskers as replacements, and even plucking out Tom's claws to use as finger picks. Both Tom and Jerry are traumatized by his return. At the end of the episode, we meet the wife of Uncle Pecos, a human woman named Aunt Spinner, and Uncle Pecos even plucks a hair off her head to restring his guitar, and the two engage in a singing duet as the cartoon ends. In the Tom and Jerry Tales episode, Uncle Pecos was voiced by veteran voice actor Scott McNeil. Uncle Pecos would return again in the Tom and Jerry Show, making a brief cameo in the 2017 episode I Quit, before playing a starring role in the 3rd season episode Uncle Pecos Rides Again, which paid numerous homages to his original cartoon Pecos Pest. In the episode, Uncle Pecos comes to visit Jerry again. He first expresses how difficult it is to find a telegram office in this day and age, before explaining that he has given up his singing career in order to join a traveling rodeo show and is due to appear again on TV. Upon his arrival, Tom has flashbacks to his first encounter with Uncle Pecos in Pecos Pest, and the episode ends with a homage to the gag seen at the end of the original cartoon. Uncle Pecos would go on to appear in another 3 episodes from the Tom and Jerry show, and throughout the series was voiced by Stephen Stanton. It's never stated which side of Jerry's family Uncle Pecos is from, but perhaps we could examine some clues. As mentioned earlier, Uncle Pecos has grey fur, less like Jerry and more like Jerry's nephew, Nibbles, also known as Tuffy, whose parents are never revealed. We did meet Jerry's mother in an episode of Tom and Jerry Kids, and she is shown to resemble Jerry, as both have brown fur, and as of yet we have never seen Jerry's father. But Tom and Jerry Kids perhaps provided another clue. The series introduced another of Jerry's cousins, Slowpoke and Tonio. It's never specified where exactly in Texas Uncle Pecos hails from, but Slowpoke Antonio states more than once that he is from the fictional town of Chili Bean in Texas. Antonio is in town for a rodeo competition and is an expert at lassoing, which Uncle Pecos is also shown to be later. Antonio is also an accomplished musician, his favorite instrument being the acoustic guitar, just like Uncle Pecos, although a terrible singer. He first appeared in the episode Slowpoke Antonio, and the cartoon ends with a gag similar to the one seen at the end of Pecos Pest, and the exact same gag was reused in the episode from the Tom and Jerry show Uncle Pecos Rides Again, mentioned earlier. It's sheer speculation, but let us know in the comments if you think Jerry's Uncle Pecos is the father of Jerry's cousin, Slowpoke Antonio. It's only fitting that the classic era of Tom and Jerry would end with such a memorable cartoon. Froggy Went, a-Courtin has been covered by many high-profile musicians over the years, from Bruce Springsteen to Elvis Presley, yet it's the version sung by Uncle Pecos in Tom and Jerry that remains the most well-known, not just in America but around the world. And Uncle Pecos is one of the most memorable guest characters in the entire Tom and Jerry franchise. Please like this video if you learned something today, and to pay your respects to Jerry's guitar-slinging Uncle Pecos, as well as the forgotten, uncredited actor who so vividly portrayed him, Shug Fisher. I'll follow this video up with a more comprehensive look at all of Tom and Jerry's family members. That video is coming soon, so remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification because if you enjoyed this video, then you may want to learn more about the rest of Tom and Jerry's family. Until then, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more cartoon history.